I've been living in this small town for about 5 years now. It's not much, but it's home. I moved here after my divorce, looking for a fresh start and a slower pace of life. The transition wasn't easy at first. I didn't know anyone, and the quiet streets felt lonely compared to the bustling city I'd left behind. But things started to look up when I discovered this local cab company. It's a family-run business, and they've been nothing but kind to me since day one. The owners, this lovely couple, took me under their wing. They'd often stop to chat when they saw me walking around town, and before I knew it, we'd become friends. Today started like any other day. I needed to grab some groceries, so I headed to the local supermarket. As I was finishing up, I called the cab company for a ride home. It was just a few items, but I didn't feel like lugging them all the way back on foot. When the cab pulled up, I was pleasantly surprised to see it was one of the owners driving. She's a sweetheart, always ready with a warm smile and a kind word. I'll call her the cab driver for this story. The cab driver greeted me cheerfully, saying she was happy to see me and offered to help load my groceries. I thanked her, expressing my appreciation for her help. She helped me put my bags in the trunk, and I returned the cart. But when I turned back to get in the cab, I saw someone already sitting in the back seat. It was a woman I'd never seen before, and she had locked the door. I asked the cab driver, confused, if I hadn't called for this cab, and inquired about the identity of the woman in the back seat. The cab driver assured me that the woman would be getting out, as this was indeed my ride. The cab driver opened her door and attempted to explain the situation to the woman. She apologized to the woman, informing her that the cab was already hired and that she needed to exit. However, she offered to call another cab for her right away. The woman in the back seat didn't even bother to look at us. She rudely declared that since she got in the cab first, it was hers. She told us to shut up and demanded that the driver take her to her destination. The cab driver tried again, even attempting to open the door, but every time she hit the unlock button, the woman would lock it faster than lightning. Finally, the cab driver reached in and grabbed the keys. She warned the woman that she would call the police if she didn't get out immediately, but the woman wasn't giving up. She lunged over the front seat and locked all the doors. The cab driver could have unlocked it at any time, but she stuck to her word and called the police. Now, here's the thing about our town. The police station is right across the street from the shopping center. Within 5 minutes, 2 officers showed up. We explained what was happening, and they ordered the woman out of the cab. She just sat there, completely ignoring them. The officers got the cab driver to unlock the doors. One of them tried talking to the woman again, ordering her to exit the vehicle immediately. The woman stubbornly refused to leave, insisting that it was her cab and she would stay. She even threatened to press charges if the driver didn't get behind the wheel and take her where she wanted to go. While this was going on, the other officer slipped into the back seat and practically shoved her out the door. As soon as she was out, the cab driver locked the doors again. That's when things really went off the rails. This woman, who looked like she could be anyone's neighbor, suddenly turned into a raging demon. She slapped one officer and was about to punch the other when she got tased. The sound she made was like nothing I had ever heard before. They put her in cuffs and called an ambulance to remove the taser barbs. The cab driver and I were told we could go, as the woman assaulting an officer was now the bigger issue. The cab driver then offered to take me home, saying this ride would be free of charge. I thanked her again, expressing my relief that I hadn't bought any ice cream that day. As we drove away, the cab driver filled me in on a little secret. She's actually the sister of one of the officers. She promised to keep me updated on what happens next. Sure, there are entitled people everywhere, but there are also good folks who'll have your back when you need it most. My partner and I had always dreamed of owning a home, somewhere quiet where we could raise our daughter Lily, away from the hustle and bustle of the city. When we found this little place in the countryside, it seemed perfect, but it got even better when the previous owner offered to sell us his small farm along with the house. At first, I was hesitant. I mean, what did we know about farming? But my partner was excited about the idea of retiring early to become a stay-at-home dad and take care of the animals. And when we saw how much Lily loved the place, especially the 2 dogs and the gentle giant of a draft horse, we knew we had to go for it. So there we were, still getting all the paperwork sorted out, but already feeling like this was our home. I was working from home, my partner was learning the ropes of farm life, and Lily was in absolute heaven. But then, one sunny afternoon, everything went sideways. I was out in the field with Lily, brushing the draft horse, when I noticed my partner talking to someone by the fence. As I got closer, I realized it wasn't just someone. It was a whole group. A woman and 7 kids in scout uniforms had basically jumped our fence and were standing in our field. My partner politely asked the woman what they were doing, pointing out that this was private property. The woman, however, seemed to think she was entitled to be there. She explained that they had seen the ducks and chickens and wanted to pet them, assuming it was a petting zoo because of our presence. She even pointed at Lily and me like we were part of some farm attraction. I tried to explain to her that this wasn't a petting zoo, that we were the owners, and that she was trespassing. That's when things really went off the rails. This woman, let's call her Karen, started throwing the biggest tantrum I've ever seen an adult throw. Karen demanded that we let them in for free and insisted that we give the kids rides on what she called a pony. I looked at the draft horse beside me and then back at her, wondering if she was serious. I explained to her that this wasn't a pony but a draft horse that was far too big for children to ride safely. I also told her that she needed to leave immediately. My partner, bless him, was handling it like a champ. He calmly but told Karen that if she didn't leave immediately, we would have to call the police. Karen's response was to threaten us. She said she would get us fired and post terrible reviews. She went on and on, throwing in some choice curse words for good measure. We were just about to call the police when our guardian angel arrived in the form of the previous owner. He had come by to drop off some vet papers, and when he saw what was happening, he stepped in. The previous owner demanded to know what was going on. He told Karen that this was private property and that we were the new owners. He warned her that she needed to leave right away before he called the sheriff. I don't know if it was his authoritative tone or the mention of the sheriff, but Karen finally backed down. She herded her group of confused-looking scouts back over the fence, all while complaining about how unfair it all was. We contacted the local scout troop to report the incident. They were incredibly apologetic and assured us they'd make it clear to all troop leaders that our property was off limits. We did let them know that if they ever needed to use the creek on our land or had an emergency, they could always ask first. We're not unreasonable after all. The last I heard, Karen had been asked to step down from her position with the scouts due to her inappropriate behavior. Karma, as they say, is a funny thing. And in our little corner of the world, it seems to work just fine. I was drowning in student debt and desperately needed a flexible job to make ends meet. That's when I stumbled upon dog walking. It seemed perfect. I loved dogs, needed exercise, and could work between classes. Little did I know it would become my calling. I started small, walking a few neighborhood dogs. Word spread quickly and soon I had a growing clientele. To cover more ground and be more efficient, I invested in a bike. It wasn't just any bike. It was my pride and joy, a sleek black number with custom red tire walls. I'd saved for months to buy it, and it quickly became my loyal companion on my daily routes. Fast forward to 2008. I'm cruising through the north side of Chicago, my usual ride, lock, walk, ride routine in full swing. I'm feeling on top of the world, my business is booming, and I'm finally starting to see light at the end of the financial tunnel. Then, in an instant, everything changes. I come out of a client's house, ready to hop on my trusty steed, only to find nothing. My bike is gone, vanished into thin air. I'm in shock, running up and down the alley like a headless chicken, hoping it's just hiding behind a dumpster or something. But deep down, I know the truth. Someone's cut through the chain and stolen my baby. I'm devastated, but I'm not one to give up easily. I start scouring online marketplaces, hoping against hope that the thief is dumb enough to try and sell it. And wouldn't you know it, Lady Luck smiles on me. There it is on an online auction site, my beautiful bike, red tire, walls and all, listed for $300. I don't hesitate. I hit that buy button faster than you can say gotcha. But I'm not about to go in alone. I call the police, explain the situation, and to my surprise, they agree to help. We set up a sting operation, me as the bait, them as the cavalry waiting in the wings. The day of the meetup arrives. I'm nervous, my palms are sweating, but I'm determined to get my bike back. The thief rides up and my heart skips a beat. It's definitely my bike. I try to play it cool, but my anger gets the better of me. I bend down to check the serial number, not even trying to be subtle. I casually ask the thief if I can take a closer look at the bike. He agrees, seeming a bit uneasy. I notice the serial number has been scratched off, but it doesn't matter. I've seen enough. I wave my arms, signaling the cops. The moment the police cars come screeching around the corner, lights flashing, the thief's bravado crumbles. He starts frantically explaining that he didn't know the bike was stolen, claiming he got it from someone else. The officer orders the thief to step away from the bike and put his hands where they can see them. I jump in, declaring that it's my bike and offering to prove it. I show the officers my receipt and point out the custom features. They nod, convinced. The officer then tells me I'm free to take my property. He turns to the thief, informing him that he needs to come with them to the station. The thief protests again, insisting he didn't steal the bike. The officer dismisses his claims, telling him he can explain at the station. I thank the officers sincerely for their help. One of them responds casually, saying they're just doing their job. He advises me to take care of the bike and suggests investing in a stronger lock next time. I nod, grinning from ear to ear as I hop on my recovered bike. That bike is still with me, a little older and less shiny, but a constant reminder of the day I turned detective and got my wheels back. I've been with this tech company for about 5 years now, working my way up from an entry-level developer to a senior software engineer. I've always prided myself on being a team player, someone who's eager to learn and share knowledge. That's why when we got a new boss, I was excited to help him get acclimated to our team dynamics and ongoing projects. From day one, though, something felt off. The new boss, let's just call him the new guy, seemed cold and dismissive towards me specifically. I tried not to read too much into it at first. Maybe he was just stressed about the new role. It wasn't long before I heard through the grapevine that new guy was bad-mouthing me to other team members. Apparently, he didn't appreciate my attempts to help him get up to speed. I was hurt and confused. What had I done to deserve this treatment? Thinking I was doing the right thing, I went to new guy's boss, we'll call him the big boss, to address the situation. But instead of showing concern about the workplace hostility, Big Boss had a different reaction entirely. He questioned why new guy was asking me questions in the first place. When I explained that I was just trying to help new guy understand our team's processes and current projects, Big Boss made it clear that in the future, new guy should be the one answering questions, not asking them. I was stunned. It quickly became apparent that Big Boss had some kind of vested interest in making new guy look good, even if it meant throwing the rest of us under the bus. This pattern continued for weeks. Anytime I reached out to a coworker for help or clarification, somehow Big Boss would find out and question why I hadn't gone to new guy instead. Once, when I tried to explain that I was just asking about the latest API changes, Big Boss interrupted to ask why I didn't ask new guy about it. When I started to say that new guy wasn't available and I needed the information, Big Boss cut me off and made it clear that in the future, all questions had to go through new guy. Eventually, I got the message. They wanted me isolated, cut off from my usual channels of communication and collaboration. So, I did exactly what they asked. I stopped talking to people. I became the office ghost, head down focused solely on my assigned tasks. My co-workers noticed the change, of course. I'd always been chatty and inquisitive, and now I was barely speaking above a whisper. But they're smart folks, and it didn't take long for them to figure out what was going on. We developed an unspoken agreement. I'd protect them from new guy and Big Boss's incompetence, and they'd do the same for me. This led to some pretty entertaining situations, like the time I casually mentioned a project update meeting I hadn't been invited to. I asked if anyone knew who was providing updates on the Henderson project for the next day's meeting. The project manager caught on quickly and asked if we should invite new guy to that. I just shrugged, which was very out of character for me. The project manager immediately understood and added new guy to the invite list. Unsurprisingly, new guy didn't bother showing up. Fast forward to a big meeting with company executives a few weeks later. The CEO was grilling us about a major issue with the Henderson project that another team had to solve. He demanded to know why this wasn't brought to his attention sooner. I stayed silent, but the project manager jumped in right on cue, pointing out that we had added new guy to those update meetings. You could see the realization dawning on everyone's faces. New guy was dropping the ball, and it was becoming increasingly obvious. This dance continued for about 6 months. I made it crystal clear that everything had to go through new guy, and I was no longer involved in any decision-making processes. Then, Big Boss decided to take a month-long vacation, leaving new guy in charge of creating our team's quarterly planning document. Now, this was something I'd always helped with in the past. I knew everyone's roles and responsibilities like the back of my hand. But new guy, in his infinite wisdom, didn't bother asking for my input. Instead, he started frantically messaging our project manager, who just kept sending him the same guidelines over and over. The project manager gave me a heads up that he wouldn't be bothering me with any of new guy's questions about the planning document. I appreciated his consideration and sarcastically commented that I was sure new guy had it all under control. For the next week, I watched in silent amusement as new guy sent increasingly panicked messages to the entire team. First, he wanted us to do conflicting tasks. Then he decided we didn't need a plan at all, despite there being a required template. Finally, he backtracked and created a massive list of every conceivable task our team could possibly do, completely ignoring the template structure. The day of the big presentation arrived, and by some stroke of luck, or perhaps some behind-the-scenes maneuvering by my allies, the meeting time was changed at the last minute. I accidentally missed the new time slot, ensuring no one could accuse me of sabotage. As the meeting unfolded, my phone blew up with messages from coworkers who were witnessing the carnage firsthand. One described it as an absolute train wreck. Another said they'd never seen anything like it and called it a complete disaster. A third colleague declared it the worst meeting of their entire career. By the time it was over, new guy's incompetence was on full display for the entire company to see. If Big Boss had been trying to protect his golden boy, that plan had spectacularly backfired. Within a week, both new guy and Big Boss were reassigned to other departments. I was promoted to team lead, finally recognized for my experience and dedication to the company.